Padma Mataji. We'll do a small kirtan and then we can go into the discussion of today's topic.
Hare Krishna Prabhu Dandot.
Lilananda Prabhu, Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam Prabhuji. Am I audible, Shri Gopal Prabhu? Is everything clear? My screen, my audio?
Yes, Prabhuji, everything is clear.
Okay, thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Vrindavana Ramyasthana Divya Chintamani Dhama Ratana Mandira Manohara Vrindavana Ramyasthana Divya Chintamani Dhama Ratana Mandira Manohara ಅಪರ್ತಾ ಕಾಳಿಂದಿ ನೀರೇ ರಾಜಹಂಸ ಕೇಳಿಕಾರೆ ತಾಹೆ ಶೋಭೆ ಕನಕ ಕಾಮಾರ ಬೃಂದಾವನ ರಮ್ಯಸ್ಥಾನ ದಿವ್ಯ ಚಿಂತಾಮಣಿ ಧಾಮ ರತನ ಮಂದಿರ ಮನೋಹಾರ तारा मध्ये हेमा पीता अष्टधाले वेष्टिता अष्टधाले प्रधाना नायिका तारा मध्ये हेमा पीता अष्टधाले वेष्टिता अष्टधाले प्रधाना नायिका तारा मध्ये रत्नासाने माते अच्छे दोई जाने श्यामा सांगे सुंदरी राधिका वृंदावना रम्यस्थाना दिव्या चिंतामणि धाम वदना मंदिरा मनोहारा रूपाला वन्यारासी अमिया परिचय काशी आस्या पारी वृंदावना रम्यस्थाना दिव्या चिंतामणि धाम रतना मंदिरा मनोहारा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे प्रभुपाद की जय नाम संकीर्तन की जय We'll do prayers. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः श्री चैतन्य मनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम् वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातां सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवम् अद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजना सहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवम् श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्ता राधा कान्ता नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचना गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्णा चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधरा श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवते उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टकी। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। नमः पंकजनाभाय नमः पंकजमालिने नमः पंकजनेत्राय नमस्ते पंकजांग्रे नमो महावदन्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नामिने गौरत्विषे नमः। नमो ब्राह्मण्याय देवाय गौ ब्राह्मण हिताय च जगद्दीताय कृष्णाय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। नमो ओं विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्ता स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणि प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधरा श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। करोति वाचालं गंगायते गुरुं यत्पुरुषं श्री गुरुदीनतारिणं श्री परमानंद माधवं श्री चैतन्य ईश्वरम् ओम पवित्रो पवित्रो वा सर्वावस्थं गतोऽपि वा यस्मरेत् पुण्डरीकाक्षं अप्याप्यवन्तरा शुचि श्री विष्णु श्री विष्णु श्री विष्णु। Hare Krishna, Prabhuji and Matajis. Thank you very much for joining the session. Kalyani Mataji, Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you very much. Lilananda
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam Prabhuji, Hare Krishna. Gopal Prabhu, Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam. Trisha Mataji, Hare Krishna Mataji. Satyadev Prabhu, Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam Prabhu.
हरे कृष्ण दादा प्रणाम प्रभु जी।
Swapna Mataji, Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी धन्यवाद प्रणाम।
Mahesh Prabhu, Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam. Anandaram Prabhu, Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam. Padma Mataji, Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Raju Prabhu, Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam. Padma Mataji, Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam. Ram Reddy Prabhu, Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam Prabhu.
Dandavat Pranam Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Vanilla Mataji, Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam. Sanjay Prabhu, thank you for joining.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam. Thank you very much, Prabhu. Very happy to see you, all of you in the morning. Nirupama Mataji, thanks for joining Mataji. Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam. Santosh Aditya Prabhu, thank you very much, Prabhu. Thank you very much for joining. Dandavat Pranam. Hare Krishna. Kiran Prabhu, Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam. Katyani Mataji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare
Dandavat
Krishna.
Pranam.
Thank you all Prabhujis and Matajis for joining this session in the morning. Thank you very much. So we are going to discuss about I think I shared the wrong PPT. Sorry, just a minute. Yes. Yeah, this is the right one. Sorry for this, Prabhujis and Matajis. So we're going to discuss about chapter 16 of Canto 3 of Srimad Bhagavatam today. The name of the chapter is The Two Doorkeepers of Vaikunta, Jaya and Vijaya, Cursed by the Sages. So this is a continuation of the previous chapter 15, which we discussed last week. And we're going to start today where Lord Vishnu arrives and he starts pacifying the Kumaras, and the discussion happens between Kumaras, Brahma and Lord Vishnu. Very interesting chapter. A lot of things to understand. There is how Lord Vishnu reciprocates to his devotees, and finally how Brahmanas need to be treated, how Vaishnavas need to be treated. But there are a lot of things to learn and understand from this chapter. So we will go one by one. So Shloka 1, and there are, just to give you an introduction, there are about 37 verses in this chapter. So it's pretty big chapter. I'll try to close all the entire chapter today as much as possible. We may have to extend a bit, but we'll see how fast we can do. Right. So Shloka 1, Shloka 2, I will do it along with the translation, and then probably after that, as we do every time. Each one of you can take one shloka and read the translation, and then we will discuss the purports. So, shloka 1, Brahmavacha iti tad granatam tesham muninam yoga dharminam prathinam jagadedam vaikunta nilayo vibhuhu. So Lord Brahma is saying, after thus congratulating sages of their nice words, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose abode is in this kingdom of God, spoke as follows. So this is the first time Lord Vishnu started talking after the entire episode of Kumaras arriving at Vaikunta door and Jaya Vijaya stopping them, and they cursed Jaya Vijaya, and Lord came to pacify the Brahmana. So this is the first time that he is talking, and we'll see what Lord Vishnu is saying here. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha etau tau prasadau makhyam jayo vijayo evacha kadarti krityamam yadvo bahva akratam atikramam. Translation: the personality of Godhead said, these attendants of mine, Jaya and Vijaya, by name, have committed a great offense against you because of ignoring me. We will discuss about this shloka, very important. There are very good purports, very good excellent explanation given by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. We will discuss that when we come into the important points of this section. Translation of the third shloka. O great sages, I approve of the punishment that you are devoted to me have meted out to them. Lord Vishnu is saying, I am approving the punishment. Right? Why is he approving the punishment? And what is the reason behind that is explained in the next shlokas of this chapter. In detail, we will discuss about that. Here, there is no information given, but as we progress into the chapter, there's very good details given why Lord has to, approve the punishment. So number one, important points. Prabhupada explains that to commit an offense at the feet of a devotee of Lord is a great wrong. So it is very, very clear, right, from this purport that anything we commit, any kind of offense in the name of Lord is a great wrong. And even if you look at, one of the 10 offenses of us, the seventh offense also talks about this. Committing an offense in the name of a holy name is not at all permitted. It's a great offense. So in the same way, Prabhupada also explains that any offense which is committed at the feet of Lord and of his devotee is a great wrong, right? So the question here, Prabhuji and Mataji, is, can a living entity promoted to Vaikuntha commit an offense? Because Vaikuntha is a different planet altogether, right? Vaikuntha planets and Golaka Vrindavan are completely different, right? People are not affected by any of the modes of material nature. They're completely different there. Then how can a person or any personality promoted to Vaikuntha planet commit an offense? Is it possible? Prabhupada explains, yes. So he gives an answer, yes, there is a possibility. They can commit. How and why is what we will discuss in the following shlokas. Prabhupada clearly explains why it happens. And does this happen with the permission of a Lord or intention of Lord? What is it? So those are certain things that we will discuss as we progress into this chapter. This is just introduction that we are going through, right? Very importantly, if you look at the second shloka, the last line says, Bhakva akratam atikramam. So the atikramam here indicates that in offending a devotee, one neglects the Supreme Lord himself. So, Lord Vishnu himself is saying that, any offense against his devotees is no less than offense to him. And we also know that very much, right? And Prabhupada also explains in this purport that, any of the offenses committed in the name of Lord, even if to against his devotees, and it need not be in the name of Lord, even to his devotees, is no less than neglecting Supreme Lord himself. That means it is no less than committing the offense directly to the Lord, right? Sometimes we might think that, oh, it's just a normal person. What happens, that's fine. I can talk about him. Even if somebody is trying to warn us, no, you're not supposed to talk like this, or you're not supposed to talk like this, or you're not supposed to comment like this on a devotee or a Vaishnava, that fine, that's okay. They might be in a different situation. We don't know what is the situation, right? But you cannot comment. Probably we might pacify ourselves, saying, oh, I'm not doing any offense in the name of Lord. I'm just making a comment on an ordinary man. But Prabhupada very clearly explains, any offense, anything that we talk, or any action of ours, any offended action of ours towards a devotee is no less than action or an offense towards the Lord. Very, very clearly it is explained in this purport. If we see that, Lord wanted to please the troubled devotees personally by going there, right? So, if you look at in the previous chapter also, Lord came rushing to the main gate of Vaikuntha, right? Vaikuntha Dwara, right? Ideally, Lord Vishnu did not do that, right? Does he really need to do that? No, he need not, right? He's a supreme personality of Godhead. He can do anything. He can do, or he can break, he can make or destroy, whatever it is. But Lord is not like that. He came running to the main gate because he knows that Brahmanas are offended, right? There is an offense committed to Brahmanas. He came running to pacify them, right? And he spoke very, very pleasingly. We'll see what God has spoken in the opening statement itself. If we notice in the second shloka, the God said, they have committed a mistake, great offense against you, right? And I'm approving the punishment that you have given to them in the third shloka. So he's actually trying to pacify or please the Brahmanas or Kumaras because they are offended, they're troubled. So he's trying to wash that off, right? We'll go into the fourth shloka. Anyone of you want to read this, Prabhujis and Matajis?
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam. Fourth shloka, translation, you can read.
To me, the Brahmana is the highest and most beloved personality. The disrespect shown by my attendants has actually been displayed by me because the doormen are my servitors. I take this to be an offense by myself. Therefore, I seek your forgiveness for the incident that has arisen.
Thank you, Prabhuji. So just read this purport, Prabhuji and Matajis. Look at what Lord Vishnu himself is saying, right? He's saying, to me, Brahmana is the highest and most beloved personality, and he's taking this offense very personally. And Lord Vishnu, who is the supreme personality of Godhead, right? He is asking to forgive. He's saying, I seek your forgiveness for the instant that has arisen. He ideally need not say that, but Lord Vishnu himself, that means he's setting an example here. He's setting an example how Brahmana need to be treated and how he himself treats Brahmana. So that we will see as we get into the explanation of this purpose. One of you can read this fifth translation.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Shall I read it? Okay. To me, the Brahmana is the highest and most
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
beloved
Fifth Prabhuji.
sorry,
Fifth
yeah, sorry,
translation.
Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu. It is a wrong art. Okay. A wrong art committed by the servant leads people in general to blame his master. Just as a spot of white leprosy on any part of the body pollutes all of the skin. Okay, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. What a beautiful example Lord Vishnu is giving, right? He's saying wrong act committed by servant leads people in general to blame his master. Just as a body spot of white leprosy on any part of the body pollutes all of the skin, right? So the Lord is giving a very clear indication here. He's making it very clear that he's always in favor of Brahmanas and cows. And as we recite in our prayers also, Vishnu Purana very clearly says, Namo Brahmanya Devaya Gau Brahmana Hitaya Cha Jagadithaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha. So in several instances, Lord Vishnu or Lord Krishna very clearly determined that he favors Brahmanas and cows. Very much, right? But the question here, Prabhuji and Mataj, is who is a Brahmana? Who is a qualified Brahmana? Can we say somebody who's born in a Brahmana family is a Brahmana? Just because somebody wears a janjam and wears a tilak and is born in a typical Brahmana family, can we actually call him a Brahmana or him or her or whoever it is a Brahmana?
No. No.
Yes. That's exactly what Prabhupada also explains in this purport, right? Just because somebody is born in a Brahmana family will not become Brahmana by default, right? Brahmana is a qualification, right? So we also see that in 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains that Chatur Varanam Maya Shrishtam Guna Karma Vibhagasha. Right? So he very clearly says, I have created Chaturvarnas. I haven't created any caste system. So Brahmana is not a caste system. And how he is created? Guna Karma Vibhagashaha, based on their gunas and karmas, their work. Based on what they are doing, they will fall into one of the categories. It could be a Brahmana or Kshatriya or whoever it is. Right? So a qualified Brahmana, primarily, Prabhupada explains in this purpose that a person who worships a supreme personality of Godhead is a Brahmana. That's the primary quality of a Brahmana, right? Only if he worships supreme personality of Godhead, somebody can categorized as a Brahmana. Very importantly. And any of us, irrespective of whichever community or caste or religion or whatever that we are born in, if we are following in one of these categories, which will be explained, then all of us come into the Brahmana Varna is what Prabhupada explains very clearly, right? So just because somebody is born in a Brahmana family, we cannot categorize them as Brahmanas, right? And also, anybody who's born in a Brahmana family, following all the rituals, right? Very strict in their sadhana and all those things, but committing offenses against Brahmanas or Vaishnavas or doing any act against Brahmanas or Vaishnavas can also not be categorized as Brahmanas, is what very clearly explained in this purport. Because Brahmana means Vaishnava and Vaishnava means Brahmana. This is Prabhupada's statement in this purport. Very beautifully explained, right? So Prabhupada also gives an understanding of what is Brahmana and what is Vaishnava. So Brahmana is actually the starting stage of realization of Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Brahmana is primarily understanding the Brahman concept of Supreme Personality of Godhead, whereas Vaishnava is the actual understanding of Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that's the primary difference between a Brahmana and Vaishnava. And very importantly, if someone becomes a Vaishnava, they have already become a Brahman, right? Because a Vaishnava can understand, a genuine or a real Vaishnava or a pure Vaishnava can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead clearly. Therefore, if you can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that means you have already realized the Brahman form. Therefore, if you are a Vaishnava, you are already a Brahmana, is what very clearly explained in this purport. Right? So, next, Prabhupada also explains in this form, where Prabhupada is explaining about the Brahmanas and Vaishnavas, he also explains how what are the qualities of a Vaishnava. If you look at the 5th shloka, Lord Vishnu himself is saying that, any wrong act committed by the servant leads people in general to blame his master. That means any of the mistakes which are committed by Vaishnava, there is a high possibility that the blame happens on Lord Vishnu or Lord Krishna himself. That's exactly the meaning of this shloka. Therefore, Prabhupada explains that devotees should be blameless. As simple as that, Prabhuji and Mataji, if we look at in today's world, even if children are playing with other group of children and let's say, there is some fight happened between them. And, the first word which comes is, look at how their children are brought up. Even if our children are using any foul language or any bad language when they're talking to their friends or anything like that. And even if we are not around, and, probably any of other parents are sitting there, any of the other elders are sitting there, the first thing what they will say is, look at these kids, how they are talking, look at their brought up, how their parents are bringing them up, right? What kind of qualities they are inculcating in these children, isn't it? So the parents are blamed, not the children. In the same way, any of the acts or bad deeds committed by Vaishnavas, it will directly have a blame on the Lord. Look at devotees of Lord Krishna, how they are. Devotees of Lord Shiva, how they are. It is very much possible that other faiths or other religions or other beliefs might have those kind of comments. So Prabhupada explains very clearly that devotee need to be blameless because he's a direct representative of Lord Krishna in this material world. And also Prabhupada explains that consciousness while dealing with other devotees. That is very, very important. Sometimes in the heat of a moment, when we are in a service or when we are taking up some additional responsibilities in the service of Lord, there could be a possibility that there might be some level of grievances, some discussions, some arguments between the devotees. But again, Prabhupada explains what should be our consciousness while dealing with such devotees. So Prabhupada explains that we need to be tolerant. It is very, very important that we need to be extremely tolerant when we are in the presence of devotees and we are talking and when we are having any kind of discussions with the devotees, right? So all these some kind of arguments or discussions or anything like that, they come and they might go, right? They're not permanent. At the end of the day, devotees anger is only for the service of Lord. Beyond that, there is no anger because devotees does not have any personal egos. Right? If something is not happening for the service of Lord, if things are not moving in the service of Lord, right? For example, when we have any of the festivals, the bigger festivals that we are conducting, right? All the intention of everyone who is part of that festival will be things will have to go smoothly, on time, right? And especially when senior devotees like His Grace Radhashyam Prabhuji or anybody, Gauranga Darshan Prabhuji, anybody is coming, right? We intend to make things or arrange things, everything on time. And if things are not moving, there could be some kind of pushback from the senior devotees, right? What is going on? Why don't you move and all those things, right? We need to understand this is for a higher purpose. This is for the service of Lord. But apart from that, there is no personal agenda of anybody in this, right? So all temporary. We might have some kind of discussion, some kind of heated arguments, but after the entire celebration is successful, we all hug each other. right? So that is exactly what Prabhupada is mentioning here. We need to be tolerant. Just because somebody, told you anything little harshly or anything like that, we should not take things too personally, right? They might, it's all temporary. It will come, it will go. Like Lord Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita, when chapter 2, Matra Sparshastu Kaunteya Shitoshna Shuka Dukkha Agamapaiso Nitya Stamtis Tiktashva Bharata, he says. Right, so this distress and happiness is like summer and winter, the seasons, they come and then go. So don't get influenced, right? So always be study and standard. In the same way, even if something comes up, we will need to ensure that all those things are temporary and not really, not take it too hard or take it too personally, right? We'll go into the next shloka, and shloka 6. Yes, Prabhuji and Matajis, one of you can do this.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Anyone in the entire world, even down to the Chandala, who lives by cooking and eating the flesh of the dog, is immediately purified if he takes bath in hearing through the ear the glorification of my name, fame, etc. Now you have realized me without doubt. Therefore, I will not hesitate to lop off my own arm if its conduct is found hostile to you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Look at what Lord Vishnu is saying. He's saying, I will not hesitate to lop off my own arm if its conduct is found hostile to you. Lord Vishnu himself is saying this, right? Yes, 7, one of you can do this.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
The Lord continued, because I am the servitor of my devotees, my lotus feet have become so sacred that they immediately wipe out all sin, and I have acquired such a disposition that goddess of fortune does not leave me, even though I have no attachment for her, while others praise her beauty and observe sacred vows to secure from her even a slight favor. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Very important shlokas, both of them. Lord himself is explaining, what are its characteristics, right? So we'll get into some important points of this, these two purports. So number 1, real purification. So if you look at first 6th shloka, Lord explains a Chandala who lives by cooking and eating the flesh of dog is immediately purified if he takes the bath in hearing through the ear of glorification of my name, fame, etc. So as we all know, there is no difference between Krishna, his name, his pastimes, his transcendental activities, anything like that. There is no difference. So the real purification is when somebody takes up Krishna consciousness with great sincerity, even if somebody is not really advanced or well behaved, as explained by Srila Prabhupada in this, beautifully explained in this purport, right? You need not be a great devotee or from a very higher category of the caste system like Brahmana or anything like that, does not matter. Even a Chandala or a Shudra or anybody, if he sincerely takes up Krishna consciousness, irrespective of how advanced is this, how advanced he has a knowledge, right? One can be considered as completely purified, right? It is very, very clearly explained, right? Need not have any advanced or a good behavior as well, right? Recruitment of a devotee. So it also very clearly gives an understanding that, a lot of people say that, only Brahmanas are eligible to, preach or conduct any of the activities or deity worships or anything like that. But, Prabhupada does not agree with that in this purport. He says, recruitment of a devotee can be from any kind of background or any kind of community, right? Because Lord himself is saying even a Chandala can do it, right? A person, even if he's eating a dog meat, right? If his consciousness is high and is taking up Krishna consciousness sincerely, he can do it. So it is not required that, somebody need to take birth in a Brahmana family or a higher caste to be eligible to advance in spiritual life or, to be a devotee of Lord. Not required. Anybody can be. And this verse is a clear example and evidence for that. Right? And Bhagavad Gita 9.32 also confirms that. Right? Krishna says in 9.32, just a minute. He says, Mam hi partha vyapashitrya yehi shruk papa yonaya. Striyo vaishyas tatat sutras tepi yanti param gatim. So Krishna says that. He says, Stri, Vaishnava and Shudra are also eligible. There is no problem. There is no discrimination. Lord Krishna himself is confirming this in Bhagavad Gita, 9th chapter, 32 shloka. Right? Even if a Stri, a Vaishnava, Shudra takes up devotion or a Krishna consciousness seriously with lot of sincerity, they can attain my abode. There is no discrimination, is what very, very clearly says. Right? And look at how things are manipulated in today's society, Prabhuji and Matajis, right? Just because we are not sure and we don't know from where we are hearing, because we hear, people are used to getting the knowledge or hearing from anybody they like, right? Not from a right authority, right? They say women are discriminated, women are not allowed into the temples, right? Shudras are not allowed into the temples, right? But it is nothing to do with what God has given us. That is unfortunately some kind of mess created by some kind of rascals in the society. Apart from that, nothing. God himself is saying, even these guys, forget about Brahmanas and Kshatriyas, Stri, Vaishnava, Shudra can also come back to me by taking up devotional service or Krishna consciousness seriously. Right? And in Srimad Bhagavatam, 6th shloka of 16th chapter of third canto, here God is explaining that even a dog meat eater Chandala can come back to me. And look at how we have been mesmerized, right? Misguided by all this secular and incorrect narratives for all this while, saying women are not allowed into Hindu temples, they cannot go, they cannot attain moksha, Shudras are not allowed. These are certain sections, these are the rules which are created by certain sections, unfortunately, in society, but never created by our gods or never explained in any of our scriptures like this. Right? So it is very, very important that we need to understand these things. Even if we have to counter argue with any of such such people who believes and try to propagate all this misinformation, we should have this kind of knowledge to counter argue with them. Right? Right? And Prabhupada also explains that Vaishnava should not be evaluated by his appearance. Right? Because sometimes Prabhujis and Matajis, even a senior devotees and very sincere devotees, they might be involved in certain activities which might not appear or sound comfortable to us, right? That is our view, but we don't know what is that great personality is going through, right? Just because somebody is taking up Krishna consciousness and following all four regulatory principles and chanting very seriously and very sincerely does not mean that we should not be involved in our material activities. It is very much required to balance, right? Srila Prabhupada explains that material relationships are of two types. One is bodily affairs and other one is spiritual affairs, right? While we give importance to spiritual affairs, understanding and realizing that we are not this body, we are a spirit soul. At the same time, given that we are in this material world and we will have certain responsibilities, it is important that we also manage our material affairs or bodily affairs. It is very, very important, right? Just because a great devotee, for example, I'm just giving you an example. Just because a senior devotee taking his children to a movie, we cannot assume and judge them saying, how can they go to a movie? What kind of devotees they are, right? Or going on some kind of activity which is not spiritual, right? Just a material activity, like probably going to some kind of shopping or anything like that. We can't just judge them. We don't know what they're going through, and we also need to balance certain things, right? So it is important to not evaluate Vaishnava based on their bodily appearance. There are a lot of things, right? So relationship between a Lord and a devotee is explained in the 7th shloka, right? So it is extremely transcendental, right? Because look at God, Lord himself is saying, I am the servitor of my devotees. So he's saying, I will save them. I am the servitor, right? So that's a transcendental relationship between God and his devotees. Devotees are always eager to serve Lord, right? In whichever way, devotees are always eager. In the same way, Lord is also eager to protect his devotees, support his devotees wherever is required, right? So there's a famous dialogue of Pawan Kalyan, right? I will come late, but I will never be. I might come late, but I'm never late. I will come on time. Late అయినా time kostanu, right? Late ga, what is that? I don't remember. Late ga there's something like that, you know.
Late గా వస్తాను. Latest గా వస్తాం.
Late ga vachna, latest ga vastanu, you know, something like that. So Lord is also like that. Sometimes he might take some time to answer our prayers, but for sure answered. There is no doubt, right? That's the transcendental relationship between Lord and his devotees, right?
Even he may throw answer through his devotees, Prabhu.
Absolutely, absolutely. Any which way, right? It might be direct answer or it might be an indirect answer. It might be late, but answer is for sure.
Answer for sure.
Yeah. So affection of Lord. If you see the 7th sloka, we very, very clearly see that, you know, what is an affection of Lord towards his devotees, right? My lotus feet have become so sacred that they immediately wiped off all sins, and I have acquired such disposition that goddess of fortune does not leave me. I have no attachment for her, right? So the affection of Lord, as His Grace Gaurang Darshan Prabhu explained when he delivered a lecture in Green Grace a couple of weeks back, the supreme shelter, right? God is very, very affectionate. He is eager to help, right? Gajendra just prayed. He did not even utter a name of Lord, right? Gajendra just said, you know, whoever can deliver me or whoever can do this for me, whoever have capabilities to do it for me, and whoever is aware of my situation, please come and save me. 3 things he said, right? Whoever has that heart to save me, whoever has the capabilities to save me, and whoever is aware of my situation, please come and save me. He did not even say Vishnu or Krishna or anything. Lord came running, right? That is the affection of Lord towards his devotees, right? So, you know, and look at the humbleness of Lord here, right? He says, this is because of my devotees. He's not saying I am this, therefore Lakshmi lives with me. He's saying because the affection of my devotees, goddesses of fortune is always with me, right? He's not taking pride in that, right? That's the reason Lord is called Bhaktavatsala. Lord cannot tolerate any inconvenience on the part of devotee, right? He never has any problem, even if somebody is, you know, offending him, scolding him, abusing him, whatever it is, right? We see that in the episode of Prahlad Maharaj, right? Whatever Hiranyakashipu said, he never had any problem, right? But the moment he started harassing his son or his devotee, Hiranyakashipu harassing his son and devotee of Lord, right? Lord did not tolerate it, right? So that's the reason Lord Krishna is called Bhaktavatsala, right? So we'll go into the 8th shloka. Yeah, one of you can read this.
I do not enjoy the oblations offered by the sacrifice in the sacrifice with fire, which is one of my own mouths, with the same relish as I do the delicacies overflowing with ghee, which are offered to the mouth of the Brahmanas who have dedicated to me, the results of their activities, and who are ever satisfied with my prasada.
Thank you, Ashrita Mataji. 9, one of you can do this.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare
I am
Krishna.
the master of my unobstructed internal energy, and the water of the Ganges is the remnant left after my feet are washed. That water sanctifies the 3 words along with Lord Shiva, who bears it on his head. If I can take the dust of the feet of the Vaishnava on my head, who will refuse to do the same?
Hari Bol. The Lord himself is saying, if I can take the dust of Vaishnava on my head, who will not do it? Who will refuse to do it? That's the greatness of Vaishnava, what God is also explaining in this shloka. We will see in detail. 10th shloka.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
The Brahmanas, the cows, and the defenseless creatures are my own body. Those whose faculty of judgment has been impaired by their own sin look upon these as distinct from me. They are just like furious serpents, and they are angrily torn apart by the bills of the vulture-like messengers of Yamaraja, the superintendent of sinful persons.
Hari Bol. See, look at this 10th shloka. What is the language Lord is using? Right? We will discuss that when we come to this purport. He's saying such kind of people are serpents and they are torn apart like by vulture-like messengers. Right? So what is God referring to? Right? As we just discussed in the previous shloka, God will tolerate any offense towards him, but not towards his devotees. Right? We will see what is why is the reason God is talking like this. Right? So 8th shloka. Vaishnavas does not take anything without offering it to the Lord, right? This shloka, 8th shloka, very clearly gives us an understanding that Lord Krishna or Lord Vishnu is the ultimate destiny for all the sacrifices. In fact, this is also supported by Bhagavad Gita. In 5.29 of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Bhoktaram yajna tapasam sarva loka maheshwaram. Right? Bhoktaram yajna tapasam. So I am the Bhokta. I am the enjoyer of all the sacrifices. Yajna tapasa is what Krishna is saying. And he also gives one more understanding of this in 9.24. Aham hi sarva yagnanam bhoktarcha prabhurevacha, he says. In 9.24. Aham hi sarva yagnanam bhoktarcha prabhurevacha. I am the ultimate enjoyer of all the sacrifices, and I am the Prabhu of this Lord, of this world. Right? So it is very, very clear that Lord Krishna is the ultimate enjoyer of all the sacrifices, whatsoever can be. Right? However, in this shloka, he is very humbly saying that more than offering directly to me, I will be very happy if it is offered through a mouth of a Vaishnava. Why? Because Vaishnavas does not take anything without offering it to the Lord, which is prasadam. Right? That's the reason Krishna is saying that anything, I will be more happy, I will be very, very pleased if it comes to me via mouths of Vaishnavas, apart from being offered to me directly. Right? So that is very, very important. And Prabhupada also gives a very, very good example of Haridas Thakura and Advaita Prabhu in this purport. Right? Advaita Prabhu used to offer prasadam every day directly to Haridas Thakura, even without offering to Lord Krishna. He used to offer only to Haridas Thakura. And Haridas Thakura was hesitant because he's born in a Muslim family, Mohammedan family. So he was hesitant and he always used to tell Advaita Prabhu on Prabhuji, please don't do this, offer to Lord and then give it to me. But Advaita Thakura was very, very stubborn. He used to say, no, I will get a benedict of offering to thousands of Brahmanas if I offer it to you. Right? Therefore, he used to offer it to to Haridas Thakura and then take prasad. Right? So that's exactly what Lord is also confirming here. Even in spite of doing it directly to me, if you do it through Brahmanas, I am much pleased. I am very, very happy. Right? And coming to the 9th shloka, Krishna explains he is the master of the unobstructed internal energy. Right? So there is a clear understanding given by Srila Prabhupada about what is an internal energy versus external energy of Lord. So we all know that Lord Krishna has three energies primarily: internal energy, external energy, and marginal energy. Right? Internal energy is primarily the spiritual world where everything is permanent, everything is happy, and his subordinates are eternal. So everything is eternal there, right? Whereas external energy is the matter, which is material world. We, the bodies, the trigunyas, three modes of material nature, and all the material activities, right? What we see is an external energy. And though there is no description given about the marginal energy in this particular purport, I'll just take a couple of minutes to explain that. So marginal energy is primarily super soul basically. So these are the three energies of the Lord. So it is explained in our scriptures that anyone who is in the external energy and the marginal energy, right, can attain the internal energy. That means we in the material world as a soul, marginal, can attain the super soul, which is internal energy, spiritual world, through bhakti yoga. So that is the relation between all these energies, right? And God Himself is saying that I take the dust on the feet of Vaishnavas on my head, then who will refuse it? So it is not that God will need to do all those things, but He's setting an example for us, right? In this way, Lord Vishnu is trying to glorify what is the greatness of Vaishnavas, right? He's saying, I am taking the dust of Vaishnavas and putting it on my head. Who can refuse? Right? If Lord Vishnu can do that, who are we? Right? So he's clearly giving us a path. He's setting a guideline for us. Right? So that is very, very important. So coming to the 10th shloka, he says, defenseless creatures need to be protected. Right? Who are those defenseless creatures? Any idea? Prabhuji and Mataji, he says, apart from cows, defenseless creatures need to be protected. So we know cows. There are defenseless creatures Lord Vishnu is talking about in this.
Many other creatures, Prabhu, like a goat, okay, dog, any other creatures, especially goat kind of thing, okay, it can't defend itself. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Not exactly, Prabhu. Srila Prabhupada gives an explanation of what are these defenseless creatures. There are 5 defenseless creatures, right? As explained by Srila Prabhupada in this purport. Cows, brahmanas, women, children, and old men. These are the 5 defenseless creatures which can be categorized, right? So we know that cows, definitely, right? Brahmanas, women, children, and old men. So Prabhupada explains that like children protected by their parents and women protected by father and later by husband, all these defenseless creatures need to be protected by their guardians. And it will be a great offense and a great mistake if these creatures are not protected for whatever reason. Right? And these guardians who ignore their duty will be punished mercilessly. Right? If you see the last line of the 10th sloka, they say they are like furious serpents and they are angrily torn apart by the bills of virtual-like messengers of Yamraj. Right? But the question here is, who are those serpents and who are those vultures? Any idea? Any of you has answers to it? Who are the vultures here mentioned? Vultures are messengers of Yamaraj. That means Yamadutas. So if somebody is not doing their duty, serpents are the one who ignore the duty of protecting. Right? For example, a woman supposed to be protected by husband after the marriage. And if the husband ignores his duty of protecting his wife, Lord explains that such kind of people who ignore their duty are like serpents, right? And they will be torn apart. That means severely punished by Yamadutas. So the comparison between the guardian who is ignoring the duty and Yamadutas is given like a serpent and a vulture, snake and a vulture. We know, right? How the vulture completely torn apart, tears apart and eats the snake. In the same way, Yamadutas will punish mercilessly these kind of people. So that is the difference between vultures and the serpents and the understanding what Srila Prabhupada is giving us in this purport. Right? Am I clear, Prabhuji and Matajis? Am I going too fast? Do you want me to slow down a bit? Anything like that? Please feel free to,
It is very clear, Prabhu. It is very clear, Prabhu.
Thank you.
Perfectly fine, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Thank you, Prabhuji. 11th shloka. One of you can do this.
Can I read, Prabhuji?
Yes, please.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam. Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. On the other hand, they captivate my heart, who are gladdened in heart and who their lotus faces enlightened by nectarian smiles, respect the Brahmanas, even though the Brahmanas utter harsh words. They look upon the Brahmanas as my own self and pacify them by praising them in loving words, even as a son would appease an angry father, or as I am pacifying you.
Hare Krishna. Hare Bol. 12th shloka. One of you can take this.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Translation. These servants of mine have transgressed against you, not knowing the mind of their master. I shall therefore deem it a favor done to me if you order that, although reaping the fruit of their transgression, they may. One second, Prabhuji. They may return to my. They may return to my presence soon,
yeah.
and the time of their exile from my abode may expire before long.
Before long. Thank you. Thank you, Mother. I think there's some network issue. No problem. So, if we look at the 11th shloka, Prabhupada explains the process, this reciprocation of Brahmana curse. Right? Lord is saying here, even though Brahmanas utter harsh words, we should not react to them in the same way. Right? That's exactly what Prabhupada is explaining in this purport as a reciprocation of Brahmana's curse. Right? Even if Brahmanas curse anyone, it should not be taken seriously, or when I say seriously, it should not be taken very personally, or it should not be reacted in the same way. Right? So that Newton's law of every action has an opposite and equal reaction will not work here when it comes to Brahmanas curse or our behavior towards Brahmanas. Even if Brahmanas curse, we need to understand the reasons behind it and never react in the same harsh manner towards Brahmanas. Right? If we take example of Kuvera's sons, right? When Narada Muni cursed them for their bad deeds, they haven't. Hare Krishna, I think there's some disturbance. Okay. So when Narada Muni actually cursed the Kuvera's sons, they haven't reacted in the same way. They were never in the intention of taking a revenge on him. In fact, they have pleaded him, please give us a solution. And you all know that story. I will not go into detail of it, right? So in the same way, Jaya and Vijaya also, after being cursed by Kumaras, they haven't reacted harshly, right? They've become very, very humble and polite. They understood what the mistake that they have done towards Brahmanas, right? So that is what exactly Prabhupada explains, that how we should reciprocate on a Brahmana's curse, even if we have to face that at some point of time. And how to treat Brahmanas, Lord is also explaining, right? On the other hand, they captivate my heart, who are gladdened in the heart and who their lotus face enlightens by the nectar smiles, right? So Prabhupada explains that even if a Brahmana in some situation of grievance, right, is kind of, reacting very harsh on us and scolding us or anything like that, we should not react in the same way. We should try to, pacify them, calm them down, right? And kind of, give a good smile and understand what is their problem and try to solve it, right? Like what, His Grace Lilananda Prabhuji always gives us an example. Guru is there to chastise us, right? Sometimes if Guru is chastising us, there is a reason behind it. We need to understand. We just can't, go back and reciprocate in the same way, right? I was, I think, Lilananda Prabhuji himself is explaining us about how Radhesham Prabhuji, His Grace Radhesham Prabhuji, treats his servants, right? It is not that, he takes him for granted. It is because His Grace Radhesham Prabhuji wanted to teach them how they will have to respect Brahmanas and Vaishnavas and senior devotees. So sometimes a chastising is required, right? But we need to understand what is the inner sense of it, rather than, being very reactive towards it, right? And that's exactly which is explained in this, purport. Because Brahmanas and Vaishnavas, Prabhuji and Matajis, they are earthly representatives of Lord Krishna. They're not normal people. Being a Vaishnava is not easy. Being a Brahmana, not the caste-born Brahmana, the actual quality of a Brahmana, they're great souls, great personalities there, right? We look at souls like Narada Mahamuni and Kumaras, whom we are discussing in this purport. They're not ordinary living entities. They're extremely knowledgeable and super souls there, right? So it is very, very important how they are treated, right? And Prabhupada also explains in this, some people give mundane explanations to such discussions. They say Daridra Narayana, right? So Brahmanas and Vaishnavas, even if they are poor, right, they can be treated as Daridra Narayana. But Prabhupada actually tears a lot of people into pieces in this purport. Lot of these people who give this mundane explanation into pieces in this purport. He says Daridra Narayana. Who is Daridra Narayana? How can Narayana be Daridra? Right? Narayana can never be a Daridra because goddess Lakshmi is always with him at his lotus feet. So how can Narayana be Daridra? Right? So if then we come into the 12th shloka, we see how anxious Lord is towards his devotees. Right? Look at what he's saying. I shall therefore deem it favor done by me if you order that, although reaping the fruit of their transgression, they may return to my presence. So Lord is asking, if you permit. Who is asking? Lord Vishnu himself is asking this to Kumaras. He is saying, while I accept your permission or your curse, I will be very happy if you can permit them to finish their curse fast and come back to me. Come back to Vaikuntha. So look at his anxiousness toward devotees. Though there is a mistake, there is a mistake committed, right? But he wants them to come back, right? This is how Lord protects. Right? This is exactly how Lord protects, right? And it also gives an understanding here that a person who goes to Vaikuntha will never fall back. Planets of Vaikuntha or Goloka will never fall back. Lord is always there to protect once we go back. But the question here is, Mataji, then what happened to Jaya and Vijaya? Why they were cursed and why they are asked to fall back? Prabhupada explains that in case of Jaya and Vijaya, it is just an accident. Right? And it happened for a reason. What is the reason? We are going to discuss that as we move into our next verses. So Lord has finally requested the sages. Lord himself requested the sages, right? Please allow them to come back to me once they finish their punishment. Right? So now we will get into 13th shloka. Yeah, one of you can read this.
Brahma continued, even though the sages had been bitten by the serpent of anger, their souls were not satiated with hearing the Lord's lovely and illuminating speech, which was like a series of Vedic hymns.
Haribol. Yes, next.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
The Lord's excellent speech was difficult to comprehend because of its momentous import and its most profound significance. The sages heard it with wide open ears and pondered it as well. But although hearing, they could not understand what he intended to do.
They were completely lost. What's going on? Right? So we'll see. Next. Yeah, Paraf, you can read this.
Hare Krishna, translation. The four Brahmana sages were nevertheless extremely delighted to behold him, and they experienced a thrill throughout their bodies. They then spoke as follows to the Lord, who had revealed the multi-glories of the Supreme Personality through his internal potency, Yogamaya. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Lord Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita 9.2, right? He says, Name viduhu suraganaha prabhavan namahasrayaha aham adirhi divanam maharshinam cha sarvashaha. Right? 9.3, I believe. No, 10.2. Sorry, not 9.2. In 10.2, Krishna explains this. So Krishna says, let me read that translation for you. neither the hosts of demigods nor the great sages know my origin or opulence. For in every respect, I am the source of demigods and sages. Right? Name viduhu suraganaha. So, Prabhavanda Maharshayaha. Aham adirhi divanam maharshinam cha sarvashaha. That is exactly what happening here. Right? Nobody can understand Krishna. It's not easy. Right? Kumaras thought something else. Right? They already realized by this time that, they have done a mistake. Why? We will see that in our next shlokas. Right? They thought Lord will be furious because his gatekeepers were cursed by them. But Lord came and he actually started pacifying them. Complete contracts to what they thought. So they were puzzled. They don't know what to do, how to react. Right? They thought something else. They were at one point of time, Prabhupada explains in this purports, in the initial purports, that Kumaras were also scared because they don't know how God will react. Because he's Lord, Supreme Personality of Godhead. Right? So they were also scared. But Lord reciprocated in a different way. He's talking completely different. He's saying, they have committed a mistake. I'm approving your curse. Right? Nobody should do that. And I will chop off my own hand if, if it is spreading like this. So they are like completely puzzled. They don't know what's going on. But they're very, very happy. They're very happy because God is pacifying them. That's exactly what Lord Vishnu wanted to happen here. Right? If you see in a previous shlokas, it is explained that, when there is a grievance from Brahmana or a Vaishnava, we should try and pacify them. That's exactly what Lord Vishnu is setting or treating them with an example. He's showing us with an example that this is exactly what we need to do. Right? The sages were very happy. They're very, very joyful because Lord himself coming and praising them. It is simple, Prabhujis and Matajis. When we are in office and when we do, something, let's say even if we do something wrong, committed a mistake, and your manager comes or maybe a vice president comes and taps your back and says, that's fine, no problem. Mistake happened, right? Next time, don't do it. Let's work towards it. Will we not feel very happy and respected for such kind of statements? We'll jump with joy. That's exactly what's happening in the situation of sages now, right? They were little bewildered because they know that, they have already done a mistake. They are in a dilemma. What will happen? What will Lord come and tell? Or maybe Lord will curse us or whatever it is. But it is a complete different scenario there. It's complete contrast. So they were like, they have mixed feelings. They're puzzled. They don't understand what's going on, what God is talking. In the same time, they're joyful because they're hearing these kind of words from the God in favor of them, right? Yeah, 16 shloka, one of you can do this. Now, we are getting into a different discussion. For all this while, Lord Vishnu spoke, and now Kumaras will start speaking. So they will start glorifying Lord Vishnu. That we will see now. So one of you can start the 16.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Translation. The sages said, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, we are unable to know what you intend for us to do. For even though you are the supreme ruler of all, you speak in our favor as if we had done something good for you. Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So yeah, self-explanatory as we just spoke. They are puzzled. They don't know what's going on. Right? 17. Yeah. One of you can take this.
Oh Lord. Yeah, go ahead, Mataji.
Yeah, Mataji, you can.
Oh Lord, you are the supreme director of the Brahminical culture. You are considering the Brahmanas to be in the highest position in your explanation for teaching others. Actually, you are the supreme worshipable deity, not only for the gods, but for the Brahmanas also.
Hare Krishna. So as we were speaking, Lord is teaching us with an example how Brahmanas need to be treated. So he's putting Brahmanas first, right? This might appear very materialistic, Prabhuji and Matajis, if a person without any knowledge of the Varnashrama system hears this kind of statements, right? So, as a lot of this, atheists speak that, Hinduism is only in favor of, Brahmins, right? Even in their scriptures, it is written that, Brahmanas are of highest quality. Lord respects only Brahmanas. Exactly, they have taken from this kind of translations or this kind of verses. But their understanding of this kind of verses is different. They only see that Lord gives preference to Brahmanas, but they don't understand that Brahmana is not a caste, it's a Varna. And there is a reason why Lord gives importance to Brahmanas, because they are here to propagate the spiritual knowledge on earth to everybody, to all the fallen souls. That they don't understand. Right? So that is the problem. Yeah. 18th shloka.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
You are the source of the eternal occupation of all living entities, and by your multi-manifestations of personalities of Godhead, you have always protected religion. You are the supreme objective of religious principles, and in our opinion, you are inexhaustible and unchangeable eternally.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji. Yeah. 19th.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Mystics and transcendentalists, by the mercy of the Lord, cross beyond nescience by seizing all material desires. It is not possible, therefore, that the Supreme Lord can be favored by others. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So, 18th shloka explains very, very important things. If you look at the third part or third line of the 18th shloka, Dharmasya paramo guhyaha. So, sages or Kumaras are explaining that this is the most confidential knowledge of all religious principles. And Prabhupada explains this in the purport of this shloka also. There is no confidential knowledge beyond this for any of the religious principles, right? As Lord Krishna also confirms in 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, 66 shloka. You know, what is that? Sorry, I kind of Sarvadharman, sorry, yeah, very important shloka. Sarvadharman parityaja mamekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshasyami mashuchaha. Right? So this is what exactly this shloka is also referring to. Right? So it is the ultimate knowledge or ultimate confidential knowledge of all religious principles. And it is very important, whatever we do, Prabhujis and Matajis, if one is not involved in very sincerely in taking up Krishna consciousness, whatever the principles that one is following is of no use. Right? So it is the most confidential knowledge of all the religious principles. Right? So also sages confirm here that if you look at, he is the ultimate goal, right? Lord Vishnu is the ultimate goal of any of the religious principle, any Vedas or anything like that, right? And in fact, Bhagavatam also explains this very, very clearly that if one does not take up the Krishna consciousness seriously, any of the religious principles that they are into, whichever faith or whichever religion they are into, it is not going to take them anywhere, right? And Prabhupada also explains this in this part, like not all the paths will lead to one destination. So you need to know which path will lead you to the ultimate destination, right? So as Lord Krishna also confirms in 9th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, 9.25, he says, yanti deva vrata devan pitran yanti pitra vrataha bhutani yanti bhuteja yantamat yagnayobhima. He explains that is a clear indication to us that not all the paths will lead to the same destination, right? Krishna says, if you are worshipping a particular demigod, you will go to their loka. If you are worshipping your ancestors, you will go to their loka. If you are worshipping bhutas, you will go to their loka. If you worship me, you will come back to me. So there are a lot of secularists in today's world. They say that that's fine. Everybody is the same. Every god is the same. Whoever you worship, you will finally go back to the Lord only. Paramatma is the same. No, that's all trash. It doesn't work like that. Krishna, Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam does not support this. It is very clearly says that, and it is also confirmed in this shloka of 18 that Supreme Lord is an ultimate goal. He should be an ultimate goal only, not anyone else. Right? And 19th chapter, right? Krishna talks about, or sages talk about yogis. So they say that there are 4 types of yogis. right? People who follow the Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga. And Prabhupada also explains that somebody who follows the Bhakti Yoga is ultimate. Though these parts of Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and Ashtanga Yoga will also lead to the ultimate goal, but the process or the movement is slow. We need to progress. Somebody cannot attain their ultimate goal continuously being in Karma Yoga or Jnana Yoga or Ashtanga Yoga. They will have to progress. Starting to can be a Karma Yoga, but Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, finally Bhakti Yoga, right? That is important. But Bhakti Yoga is direct ticket to Goloka Vrindavan, right? So it's like we are taking step by step to get into the 10th floor or 20th floor, and we are taking a lift directly to the 20th floor. So Karma Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, Jnana Yoga is like step by step process. We are going by every floor through steps. Bhakti Yoga is a lift. So we are straight going to that particular floor. So that's what. And Krishna also explains this in Bhagavad Gita 6th chapter. He says yoginam api sarvesham matkate antaratmanam, right? So he says out of all these yogis, a yogi who actually performs bhakti yoga or who is always in my service is the best of all yogis. Shraddhavan bhajate yo mam same yukta tamo mataha, Krishna says in 6th chapter, right? Who very dedicatedly performs, right, the transcendental service or devotional service of mind. They are the best yogis, is what Krishna is saying. And it is also explained in this verse that it is not easy to cross the ocean of birth and death. We all know that, right? And this statement is also supported in Bhagavad Gita in 7.14, where Krishna says, Daiviyesha gunamayi mama maya duratyaya. Right? So it is not easy to cross the ocean, right? It's not easy to cross Maya, but somebody holds on to my lotus feet can easily cross. Right? So sometimes I feel that is the reason Bhagavad Gita is said. It is a combination of all Puranas and Itihasas and all the scriptures. Because anything you talk about, any philosophy in any of the scriptures, somewhere you will find that relation in Bhagavad Gita also. So it is sometimes I feel very proud studying Bhagavad Gita and understanding what Krishna said in Bhagavad Gita. Beautiful. Whatever you read, you read Vishnu Purana, you read any Purana or any Vedas or Srimad Bhagavatam, there is some relation which is summarized in Bhagavad Gita. Such a beautiful analogy how Krishna has explained. 20? Yes, one of you can read this.
The goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, the dust of whose feet is worn on the head by others, waits upon you as you appointed, for she is anxious to secure a place in the abode of the King of Peace, who hovers on the fresh breath of tulsi leaves offered at your feet by some blessed devotee.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, 21. One of you can take this book.
O Lord, you are exceedingly attached to the activities of your pure devotees, yet you are never attached to the goddess of fortune who constantly engage in your transcendental loving service. How can you be purified? Therefore, by the dust of path traversed by the Brahmanas, and how can you be glorified or made fortunate by the marks of Srivatsa on your
Haribol. We'll go to the important points. So 20th shloka, Prabhupada explains the service of goddess Lakshmi versus Tulasi. Right? It is explained so beautifully in this purport that service of Tulasi is much higher than service of goddesses Lakshmi. Because goddesses Lakshmi, though she is at the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu, and Tulasi also always at the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu, goddess Lakshmi has certain other responsibilities also, because there are a lot of living entities who are praying for her mercy, right? Therefore, she had to take care of them sometimes. She had to leave to take care of certain activities also. But Tulasi, irrespective of whatever it is always at the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu. She has no other business, no other work. So Prabhupada explains very, very beautifully that Lord Tulasi's service to Lord Vishnu is much higher than goddesses Lakshmi's, right? And coming to 21st shloka, it is explained how is the Lord attitude of his renunciation, right? We know that, Lord has all the 6 opulences, right? Out of that, renunciation is one of it, which is very, very important, right? So irrespective of whatever it is clearly stated in this shloka that Lord is not attached to anyone, right? It says you are exceedingly attached to the activities of your pure devotees, yet you are never attached to the goddesses of fortune who constantly engage in your transcendental loving service. So even Lakshmi Devi is always with him. He is never attached to her, right? They are glorifying the Lord in this way. So it's basically explained that Lord is not dependent on anyone here, right? He can create thousands of Lakshmis for his service, right? And in fact, as Brahma Samhita also confirms that, Lakshmi Sahasrasa Tashamra Masevya Manam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. So it says that, thousands of Lakshmis are serving him in Golaka Vrindavan, right? So in that way, but God is never attached to anyone. So we see this renunciation attitude of God in several instances, just not this, right? Probably, Krishna leaving Gopis and Vrindavan in order to perform his next activities in Mathura, for killing Kamsa, right? So we see that renunciation of Lord in several activities, right? So it is basically, irrespective of doing all these things, God, whatever it is, see, the renunciation attitude or probably serving Brahmanas or giving importance to Brahmanas or whatever it is, it's primarily to set an example for us, right? So when the Lord says that it is due to the causeless mercy of Brahmanas that Lakshmi ji does not leave him, we can understand that Lakshmi ji is attracted by the opulence of Lord, not by Brahmanas' benedictions upon him. So Lord, out of lot of mercy and humbleness, he is saying, because of your prayers, Lakshmi ji is attracted to me. But that's not the case. God is not dependent on anyone. It is his humbleness, that's it, right? Yeah, 22. One of you can read this translation.
O Lord, you are the personification of all religion. Therefore, you manifest yourself in 3 millenniums, and thus you protect this universe, which consists of animate and inanimate beings. By your grace, which is of the pure goodness and is the bestower of all blessings, kindly drive away the elements of Rajas and Tamas for the sake of the demigods and twice born. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, 23. One of you can take this.
O Lord, you are the protector. Sorry. O Lord, you are the protector of the highest of the twice born. If you do not protect them by offering worship and mild words, then certainly the auspicious path of worship will be rejected by people in general who act on the strength and authority of your Lordship. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Very, very important translation or purport of 23, which we will discuss. 24, yeah. One of you can do this. Prabhuji and Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Dear Lord, you never want the auspicious path to be destroyed, for you are the reservoir of all goodness. Just to benefit people in general, you destroy the evil element by your mighty potency. You are the proprietor of the 3 creations and the maintainer of the entire universe. Therefore, your potency is not reduced by your submissive behavior. Rather, by submission, you exhibit your transcendental pastimes. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. We'll see the important points from these 3 purports. Number 1, it is explained Triyuga and why. So if you look at the first 22nd shloka, it says Triyuga. He's saying, sages are saying, you manifest in 3 millenniums. But why is it 3 millenniums? Ideally, there should be 4 millenniums, right? Including Kali Yuga. Right? Satyuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, and Kali Yuga. Then why are sages saying only 3 yugas? It is primarily explained in this purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, that in these 3 yugas, Lord manifests directly. And in the Kali Yuga, it is an indirect manifestation, which is nothing but Channa Avatar. Right? That means Lord comes not directly as a Lord. Right? If you look at Satya Yuga, he came directly as a Lord. Treta Yuga, Lord. Dwapara Yuga as a Lord. In Kali Yuga, though he is Krishna himself, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is called Channa Avatar, is not a direct avatar. He comes in the form of a devotee to teach us. Right? So that's the reason it is mentioned. It is another evidence of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's incarnation from this shloka. So it is explained that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is, though he himself is Krishna, but he did not showcase himself as Lord. Rather, he showcased himself as a devotee and expanded his teachings. Right? So that is what Triyuga means in this purport. Right? Principles indicated by the prayers of 4 Kumaras. So they are saying, if you look at it, kindly drive away elements of Rajas and Tamas. This gives us a clear understanding that by now, sages or these 4 Kumaras, they are already feeling bad for what they have done. They realized it, right? Because they have cursed devotees of Lord in Vaikunta, which they should not be doing for whatever reason. Though they have already feeling bad that they are doing it. Right? Their consciousness is already weak here. They're feeling weak, right? That's the reason they are saying, please remove this still existing passion and ignorance from us, dear Lord. They're praying, right? So Prabhupada explains such kind of people have 3 transcendental qualities, right? Basically twice born. I will explain you what is a twice born in our next shloka, right? I'm sure most of you will know that, but some of you who does not know what does twice born refers to, we will discuss this in the next shloka, right? So such kind of great souls like Kumaras, they have 3 transcendental qualities, or any of the devotees for that matter, right? Number 1 is cleanliness, number 2 is austerity, and number 3 is mercy. And that's exactly how the 4 principles what we follow is derived from. For example, cleanliness, none of us or none of the devotees takes intoxication, right? We don't believe in intoxicating, and we don't prefer taking anything which can intoxicate us, right? Number 2 is austerity, that is illicit sex. So one of the primary things that we need to follow, right? Primary principles that we need to follow. Mercy, devotees, right? They are merciful towards all the living beings. Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Gavihastini, right? As Krishna says in I think 5th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, right? So we look everyone, devotees look everyone equally. And Krishna himself says, Sukhrudam Sarva Bhutana. I look everybody in an equal way, right? So, so this basic quality of mercy to us is come from Krishna himself, right? So, character of great authorities is described in the 23rd shloka. 23rd, yes, yeah, 23rd shloka, right? If you see, you are the protector of 3 creations. No, I think not 23rd, it's 22nd. Yeah. So the character of great devotees is explained here. If you yourself is not doing it, who will do it? Right? See, if you look at this 23rd shloka, it says, you are the protector of the highest of twice born. If you do not protect them by offering worship and mild words, then certainly the auspicious part of worship will be rejected by general people. So Prabhupada explains, this is the characteristics of a great authority. Right? It is very, very important, because great authorities, they lead with an example, and we need to learn from great authorities. Sometimes, Prabhuji and Matajis, the misrepresentation of scriptures is done by people who does not understand, right? As we were just discussing in the previous shlokas, where even a Chandala can get a moksha, and in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says even women, Shudras, everybody can come back to me. But there's a misrepresentation happened, right? So certain things will need to be explained and understood from authority, from the parampara. That is very important. Otherwise, what happens? People will give us their own mundane misrepresentations, and we will accept it. And that's exactly what is happening in today's world, right? And it is explained in the scriptures that there are 3 ways that we can understand a good knowledge from, right? One is the Pratyaksha Praman, second is Anumana Praman, third is Shabda Praman. So Pratyaksha Praman is looking with our eyes, hearing from our ears, and then understanding it. Sometimes it can go wrong because our senses are limited. Right? We can't see, probably, if you are standing in Gachibowli, from there we can't see Secunderabad. But does that mean that Secunderabad is not existing? On a rainy day, we cannot see a sun because it is covered with clouds. Does that mean that sun is not existing? So our senses are limited. With our senses, which is Shabda Praman, we cannot understand certain things. And then next is Anumana Praman. That means I will learn by myself. So we can't even understand certain simple elements, right? How can we understand this very advanced and transcendental knowledge? Therefore, it need to be understood from a Shabda Praman, which is authority, a guru, who is coming in a parampara, right? With that, we can understand any of the knowledge, not by the mental speculations and ignorance. Not possible. Somebody, this is my understanding. Who wants? Who wants your understanding, Baba? Nobody wants your understanding. Is the scripture explaining this? Right? There are two things which are called universal belief and individual belief. Right? We don't want individual beliefs when it comes to spirituality. We want universal belief. What are scriptures talking about it? What are scriptures explaining about it? Right? Somebody, as I just explained in the previous shloka, somebody might say all paths will lead to one destination. Every God is the same. Very good. That's your understanding. Keep it to yourself. Don't rub it on us. Right? What is scripture explaining? Scriptures explain that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. That's an explanation. That's a universal fact, universal belief. We need to go as per that, not by the individual explanations and individual beliefs. Right? In the same way, I would like to quote an example here from Ramayana. Right? So even now there are a lot of debates happens on why Rama sent a pregnant wife, Sita Mata, to a forest. Somebody says, how can Rama do that? Right? How can he ask her to get into the fire? But they don't understand that Yuga is different. Rama's position is different. Dharma is different. He need to follow that Dharma. Right? He need to set an example. If Rama would have kept Sita in his home, pregnant Sita at his home, she would have been happy with him. And she would have been worshipping him. Just because Rama sent out Sita in order to follow the dharma, in order to follow the dharma of a king, not a dharma basically, a dharma of a king, and set an example to his entire kingdom and residents of his kingdom. He is being treated as a god even today, and we are also respecting him. That these Mudas will not understand, right? This unintelligent people, unintelligent fools will not understand those things. So only when we learn certain things from authority, we understand all these things. Right? So it is important to follow authorities. Right? So protection of a twice born. So here, if you look at the 24th shloka, it says you need to protect the twice born. So what is the twice born here? Right? We need to understand what is a twice born. So basically, twice born, I'm sure a lot of you know this, just for somebody who does not know that. When we are born in this material world, that is the first time where we are born. And the second time we are born when we are taking a diksha. That means when we get initiated, right? So that is when we are born for the second time. That's the reason somebody who's taken an initiation or a diksha, they are called twice born. And Prabhupada explains in this purport that anybody from Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishnava can be in one of the twice born category. Right? Not Shudras. Only from these three, right? Why? There are several reasons given that. Right? Let's not get into detail of that. There are several reasons given why only these three categories can fall. Because they protect the entire society. Brahmanas, in terms of their knowledge, by spreading the Vedic knowledge, giving the knowledge of God. Kshatriyas, by protecting from a force standpoint, military standpoint. And Vaishyas, by creating jobs, by creating revenue, by doing business, by doing agriculture, taking care of cows, right? They do. Therefore, these people need to be protected first. Does not mean that protection of Shudras need to be ignored. No. Prabhupada does not support that here. He clearly says Shudras also need to be protected, but importance need to be given to these three categories. This is very much required for the development of the civilization, right? And if you see the 24th shloka, it says, you never want the auspicious path to be destroyed. You are the reservoir of all goodness, right? Just to be benefited. So, you are the proprietor of three creations and maintainer of the entire universe. Underline the statement, Prabhujis and Matajis. You are the proprietor of the three creations and maintainer of the entire universe. And Krishna himself confirms this in Bhagavad Gita, right? In Bhagavad Gita 9.9, I believe, 9.9, he says, Prakrutim swama vastabhya visarjami punaha punaha bhutagramam imam krishnam avasam prakrutir vasat. Krishna says this. So he's saying, I'll read the translation for you. He says the whole cosmic order is under me. Under my will, it is automatically manifested again and again. And under my will, it is annihilated at the end. So he's saying it is created by my will and destroyed by my will. So everything controlled by me. And the next shloka 9.10 also Krishna says, Mayad dikshena prakrita suyeta sacharacharam hetu nanena kaunteya jagat parivartate. This entire material creation runs under my order, right? And that is exactly being confirmed in this shloka, right? And sages are saying, Lord, in spite of being king of the entire universe, supreme lord of the universe, you are never reduced in your position just by doing these good things, right? In spite of being a supreme personality of Godhead, Krishna performed lot of transcendental activities in Vrindavan. He was a cowherd boy, right? But that never reduced his position. He was always supreme personality of Godhead. He did a lot of things. He drove the chariot of Arjuna, right? And Arjuna from behind, it is explained in Mahabharata, is porking him with his leg. Take me this side, take me that side. Krishna, being his charioteer, followed all the instructions of Arjuna, right? Did that reduce the position of Lord Krishna? No, it did not, right? That is exactly what is explained in this shloka. 25, one of you can read this. All right, Hare Krishna.
O Lord, whatever punishment you wish to award to these two innocent persons, or also to us, we shall accept without duplicity. We understand that we have cursed two faultless persons.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. So here in 25, let me discuss this 25 quickly before we go into 26. So whatever punishment you wish to award these two innocent persons, underline this statement. They're saying innocent persons. If they're innocent, why did they curse? Why did Kumaras curse Jaya and Vijaya? It was an accident. They have already realized that these two are innocent, right? So that's exactly what Krishna also says in Bhagavad Gita in 9.30. Krishna confirms that apite sudirachare bhajate mamananya bhak sadhuryeva samantavya samyog vyavasahito hisha. Krishna says this in Bhagavad Gita 9.30, right? He says even if one commits the most abominable action, if he is engaged in devotional service, he is to be considered saintly because he is properly situated in his determination. Krishna is saying this in Bhagavad Gita. Even if a devotee commits a blunder, highest mistake, he still need to be forgiven because he is situated in his activity of Krishna consciousness determinedly. Right? There would have been some accident with the influence of material world or material nature, whatever it is, but you cannot judge a person just by one mistake. Devotee need to be forgiven, right? That's exactly what Lord Krishna is saying this, right? At least we should understand that that person is in Krishna consciousness, right? 26, yes, one of you can read this.
The Lord Go ahead.
O Brahmanas, know that the punishment you inflicted on them was originally obtained by me, and therefore they will fall to their birth in a demonic family. But they will be firmly united with me in thought through mental concentration intensified by anger and they will return to my presence shortly.
Haribol. Very, very interesting. We will find some interesting facts here. So, number one, we discussed about 25. In 26, Lord replied, that punishment you inflicted on them was originally ordered by me. That means God is saying, I have sanctioned that punishment. Can anything happen without sanction of Krishna? Nothing can happen without sanction of Krishna, and Bhagavad Gita 7.22 confirms this. Krishna says, Satata Shrataya Yugdas Tasyarada Namihate Labate Chatataha Kaman Mayeva Vihitan Hitan. So Krishna says, whatever your actions are, whomever you want to pray, whomever you want to get benediction from, it will have to be ultimately sanctioned by me. Mayeva Vihitan Hitan, Krishna says in this shloka. Mayeva Vihitan Hitan. It should be sanctioned by me, boss. Nothing will come to you without my sanction. Right? And exactly he's confirming the same in the mood of Lord Vishnu here. This is my sanction. I am doing it. But the question is, plan of a Lord. How is this? How can Lord sanction something against his devotees? And really, I mean, is it a plan of a Lord? Yes. Prabhupada explains this is a plan of a Lord. Why? Right? It is explained that Lord has a fighting spirit. Of course, he will have everything because we also have, we are immediately ready, right? Somebody says something, we are immediately ready to fight, right? In Kali Yuga, quarrels are so common that even if somebody stares at you for 30 seconds, you will say, hey, kya dekh raha hai? Nahin? That's exactly what happens. This fighting spirit has come to us from the Lord. Lord has everything because everything is created by him. Right? Aham sarvasya prabhava mattaha sarvam pravartate. Right? Everything is created by him. So he will have this fighting spirit also. It is clearly explained, right? But when he has a fighting spirit, obviously there is no enemies in Vaikuntha. Vaikuntha is transcendental planet. Goloka Vrindavan is a transcendental planet, right? Spiritual planets. There are no enemies. All good people are living there. Then who will he fight with? He will have to fight with somebody, right? That's exactly where he plans such things. He makes such arrangement, right? Otherwise, why will Brahmanas get angry? Why will they curse? And what is all this plan? And how can somebody fall from Vaikuntha? Right? This is all because of the fighting spirit of the Lord. He wants to fight. It is basically a temporary arrangement. He's creating this plan. He's sending these two people, good devotees like Jaya and Vijaya, in the form of asuras, create disturbance in the world, and he will come and fight with them, kill them, and take them back. All temporary arrangement. Right? And that's exactly what Srila Prabhupada explains in this purport. Very interesting. 27. One of you can read this.
Lord Brahma said, after seeing the Lord of Vaikuntha, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in the self-illuminated Vaikuntha planet, the sages left the transcendental abode.
Very good. Self-explanatory. I think sages they left. They just left. 28.
Hare Krishna Guru.
Hare
The
Krishna.
sages circumambulated the Supreme Lord, offered their obeisances, and returned, extremely delighted at learning of the divine opulence of the Vaishnava.
Very good. Self-explanatory again. 29.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Okay. The Lord.
29th Prabhu.
The Lord then said to his attendants, Jaya and Vijaya, depart this place, but fear not, all glories
onto you.
Though I am capable of nullifying the Brahmana's curse, I would not do so. On the contrary, it has my upward.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. So
Niti
this
Mataji
shloka
ki
has a
jai.
connection with 26th shloka, right? 29th has a connection with. This is exactly what we were discussing in shloka 26 also. It's all God's plan, right? He wants to perform some transcendental activities in this material world, right? Therefore, it is a temporary arrangement that he planned. Otherwise, why will Brahmanas curse? Why will they get angry, right? And so how can somebody like Jaya Vijaya fall down, right? And finally, how is he saying that all glories to you, right? He says all glories unto you. Go. That means he has a plan. So that's exactly what this means, right? Yeah, 30th shloka. One of you can read this.
This departure from Vaikuntha was foretold by Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune. She was very angry because when she left my abode and then returned, you stopped her at the gate while I was sleeping.
Exactly. So Lord Vishnu is explaining why this happened and making them understand that this is because of Goddess Lakshmi's whatever she was foretold that this will happen. 31. The Lord assured the two Vaikuntha inhabitants, Jaya and Vijaya, by practicing the mystic yoga system in anger. Please underline this word. You will be cleansed of the sin of disobeying the Brahmanas, and within a very short time, return to me. We will discuss this when we come to purport. Just underline this word. Yes. 32. Somebody wants to do it?
After thus speaking at the door of Vaikuntha, the Lord returned to his abode where there are many celestial airplanes and all surpassing wealth and splendor. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. 32, Shloka 32 gives us an understanding how Vaikuntha is, right? So it says, it has many celestial airplanes and all surpassing wealth and splendor, right? So now we will discuss about, there is a lot to discuss about 31. 32 is a self-explanatory. So we will discuss about 31, right? So Lord advises Jaya and Vijaya to perform mystic yoga system, which is nothing but Bhakti Yoga, right? Bhakti Yoga. So Prabhupada explains in this purport, anybody who actually follows Bhakti Yoga or practices Bhakti Yoga is for sure delivered by Supreme Personality of Godhead, right? And Prabhupada also explains that it is a clear evidence here, even a Brahma Shapa, and Jaya and Vijaya were cursed by Brahmanas, right? A Brahma Shapa can be revoked by following Bhakti Yoga. That is Bhakti Yoga. That is the greatness of Bhakti Yoga. But the question here is Bhakti Yoga in anger. How can a Bhakti can be in anger? Can it be in anger? Is it possible? Any answers, Prabhuji and Matajis? Can a Bhakti Yoga be in anger? How can we practice a Bhakti Yoga in anger?
Yes, Prabhuji, bhakti can be practiced in all rasas, I think. Anger means especially when any Vaishnava is discredited or insulted, there should be anger against the miscreant, and the miscreant should be punished. So that is bhakti in anger. If Lord is insulted or Lord's devotees are insulted, then a bhakta will get angry.
Haribol, Haribol. Very, very, very nice explanation, Mataji. Very good point. Thank you. Thank you. So, Prabhupada, Padma Mataji, you want to say something?
No.
Okay. So, Prabhupada explains there are 12 rasas of Bhakti Yoga. Any rasa will ultimately take you to the God, right? There is no doubt. There are 12 rasas. There are 5 primary rasas and 7 secondary rasas. The primary rasas are Shanta, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, Madhurya. These are the 5 primary rasas of Bhakti. And there are 7 secondary rasas which are Raudra, Adbhuta, Hasya, Bhibhatsa, Veera, Daya, Bhayanaka. Right? In any of these rasas, whichever rasa that you are following, even if a devotee, even if one is not a devotee of Lord, he need not be a devotee, but somebody is always thinking of Krishna in whichever rasa, right? They will finally attain Krishna, right? And that's exactly what Lord Vishnu is telling them, both this Jaya and Vijaya, practice Bhakti Yoga in anger. Why? Because they are taking birth as enemies. Lord want to fight with them. They cannot be in Vatsalya Rasa or Sakya Rasa, right? They will have to be enemies. So if they have to be enemies, they'll have to have anger on the God. Therefore, Raudra Rasa, right? So they will have to be in anger. So that's exactly what Lord Vishnu is saying. Practice Bhakti Yoga in anger. Fight with me, I will take you back, don't worry. Right? And that is where we've seen anybody who chants the name of Krishna in whichever rasa, finally they will attain him. For example, Kansa has always chanted Krishna's name in fear. Right? He was always in fear of Lord Krishna, but he's always chanting. Right? And Shishupala, he was always against Lord Krishna, but he's always chanting. Right? He's always chanting. He's always against him. He's always chanting. Therefore, he attained. Right? And I was reading one of the beautiful story of Narada, how he explains Yudhishthir Maharaj about how one can obtain Krishna, or how one can reach Krishna. He says, we reach Krishna with bhakti. You reach Krishna with relation. Kamsa reach Krishna with anger. Duryodhana will reach Krishna, no, sorry, not Duryodhana. Shishupala will reach Krishna being always, Kamsa will reach in fear. Shishupala will reach in anger, right? So anybody who, whichever rasa they follow, if they are always remembering Krishna, always chanting his holy names, is assured to go back to his supreme abode. And we have a classic example of Putana, right? She came to kill him, but Krishna has given her role of mother, a role of a head nurse in Golok, and taken her back, right? So that is exactly what Prabhupada explains in this part. But any of the rasas that we follow, ultimately we can go back to Krishna. But primarily are these 5 rasas. Ideally, devotees will have to be in one of these 5 primary rasas, right? So secondary rasas of 7 secondary rasas are probably for different aspects or different situations. But primarily devotees will have to be in one of the 5 rasas: Shanta, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, Madhurya. Right? Clear, Prabhuji and Matajis? I want to just pause for a minute on this because this is a little important on the rasas before we go into our next thing. I think we are almost done. Any questions on this?
Yes, Prabhuji, one question. So
Yes.
if Krishna himself kills someone, so they attain their abode?
Yes, they do. They do. And that's exactly happened in the for Putana, Shishupala, right?
So
All these people
Krishna
who were
does not
killed by Krishna.
Krishna does not consider, okay, they have committed some sins, so let them take some punishment in Yamaloka and then return to my abode. Is it not like that?
I think if you look at this particular chapter also, it confirms that very clearly, right? It's all Krishna's plan. They are all coming here for a specific reason. Even if you look at Jaya and Vijaya, right? For example, Shishupala also, they're the third incarnation. Shishupala and Dantavakra, they're the third incarnation of Jaya and Vijaya. So they come here for a reason, right? It's all planned. Therefore, Krishna confirms that, if you are killed, you will come back to me. If you're killed by me, that means you are always thinking of Krishna in one of the rasas. So if you are always in the mood of thinking of Krishna, chanting his holy names in any which form, out of fear, anger, right, hasya, dasya, sakya, whatever it is, you'll ultimately go back to him.
So does it also apply in Kali Yuga?
Why not? How can there be any discretion or discrimination?
Then wouldn't some people take it as an advantage? They commit sins and they say Krishna, 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 and would they be
Krishna is intelligent, no Mataji? Will he not understand?
Hmm.
See, that's exactly what he's saying. Committing, if you look at the first, second shlokas of this chapter, committing offense on the name of the Lord is a great wrong. See, either you be very honest this side and chant Krishna's name, or you be completely in a different rasa, Raudra, right? Bhivatsa, Bhayanaka, whatever it is. But if you are in between, if you're trying to cheat Krishna, do you think it will work? Outside you're chanting, oh Krishna, Krishna, but inside, what Krishna? Do you think Krishna will not understand that?
Also, Mataji, in one of the classes, I had heard that being killed by Krishna and direct physical touch is the reason why they're going back. In
That's
Kali Yuga,
very
when you
good.
are seeing that there is no direct killing by Krishna, no, they are
Yes, yes.
dying, like even like you said that they have committed sins and then they are going. That's the reason why they are facing the implications of whatever are their actions. So all the reactions have to be taken care of. And there is hell, or then they are going to heaven, or then again falling down or coming up, and things like that. They are in the evolutionary cycle. But being killed directly in presence of Krishna or directly by Krishna is the reason why those are getting the liberation. But the liberation could be it could be even this one, like Brahmajyoti liberation also. It doesn't have to necessarily bring them to Vaikuntha, or doesn't have to necessarily bring them to Goloka. So in the liberation into any of the spiritual sky.
There are different stages of liberation, Mataji. As we know, there are
Yes.
mokshas are of
Sayuchya,
5 types,
Salokya,
right?
yes.
So, any of one can be attained. But the ultimate is, going back to their supreme abode.
Yeah. So usually they get impersonal liberation. Ante mana Brahmajyoti liberation వచ్చేస్తుంది అన్నమాట.
That is not ultimate, as explained in scriptures
Yeah.
also.
Yeah. Again, there is a possibility of fall
Yeah, there
down.
is a possibility of falling back. Yes.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. So 33. Yeah, one of you can read this.
But those two gatekeepers, the best of the demigods, their beauty and luster diminished by the curse of the Brahmanas, became morose and fell from Vaikuntha, the abode of the Supreme Lord.
Very good. It's self-explanatory. 34.
Then, as Jaya and Vijaya fell from the Lord's abode, a great roar of disappointment arose from all the demigods who were sitting in their splendid airplanes.
Haripal is also self-explanatory. 35. Yes, I'll read this. Lord Brahma continued, those two principal doorkeepers of personality of Godhead have now entered the womb of Diti, the powerful semen of Kashyapa, Muni having covered them. So, it is other clear proof that how a living entity coming originally from Vaikuntha Loka falls into this material world. Right? It is explained in the shloka by Srila Prabhupada that anybody will have to take the shelter of the father in the form of a semen, enter into the womb of a mother, and then grow and take birth. Therefore, it is very, very important, Prabhuji and Matajis, the mood or the consciousness of a father, right, for this divine act, right? That's the reason. I mean, if we just dig a little bit into the story of what happened between the Kashyapa Muni and Diti, we all know that, right? He was not in a good consciousness at that time, a right consciousness, but Diti was kind of forcing him, and he explained that this will not lead to good situation. We might have to face worse situation, but she was not in a mood to listen to him. He knew that Kashyapa Muni predicted what is going to happen. Therefore, it is important that what kind of consciousness a father should have while doing this act, right? That's the reason our scriptures talk about Garbhadana Samskar, right? There is a full length of samskar which happens before getting into the act, right? So unfortunately, in today's world, it has become like any other a materialistic act, right? So that's the reason we say we see all these demons taking birth as atheists and seculars in this today's world, right? So there are very, very few devotees, very few handful devotees, versus all these asuras who are born in the form of these atheists and seculars in this world, right? So 36. Yeah, one of you can do this.
It is the proneness of these twin asuras, demons, that has disturbed you, for it has minimized your power. There is no remedy within my power. However, for it is the Lord himself who desires to do all this.
Hare Krishna. Last shloka of this chapter. Yeah.
My dear sons, the Lord is the controller of the three modes of nature and is responsible for the creation, preservation, and dissolution of the universe. His wonderful creative power, Yoga Maya, cannot be easily understood even by the masters of yoga. That most ancient person, the personality of Godhead, will alone come to our rescue. What purpose can we serve on his behalf by deliberating on this subject?
Haribol. some important points. The situation is due to the desire of Supreme Lord. Lord Brahma is confirming that. Basically, Lord Brahma is saying, no one can surpass the acts of Supreme Lord. And he himself is saying, I am helpless. He's saying, my power, there is no remedy within my power. He's talking to demigods and saying there is no, because demigods are shocked. There's big uproar, disappointment when these two, great souls, Jaya and Vijaya, though they are devotees taking birth as demons, asuras, though they are taking birth as asuras, Prabhuji and Matajis, their power has not vanished because they are from Vaikuntan. They are not ordinary souls, right? So they have a lot of power, right? Of course, in order to fight with Lord Vishnu, they cannot be normal souls, right? They'll have to be extremely powerful souls, right? So therefore, Lord Brahma is saying, this is the decision of Supreme Lord. No one can surpass it. And even I am helpless. So we will have to leave this decision to him and see what he will do and how he wants to do, take it forward or how he wants to act on it. So this clearly gives an indication or clear understanding that there is nothing that Supreme Personality of Godhead cannot do. Everything happens on his will, simple, on his sanction. And Brahma is also confirming that. He's saying, let it be, let Lord himself decide what he wants to do. Right? That's exactly what this purport is explaining that. Right? And he's also say that, in this last sloka, no act of God should be disturbed even if it appears to be reverse. Right? So Prabhupada explains this very, very clearly. So anything which God wants to do, Supreme Lord intends to do in this material world should not be disturbed by anyone, including some great activities like serving the Lord, preaching. Right? Prabhupada also explains that nobody should disturb. If this is disturbed, it is not going to go in their favor. Right? People, whoever is causing disturbance to these kind of activities will have to face the consequences. There is no doubt. Right? In the same time, Prabhupada also says that even if it appears to be reversed, for example, somebody is trying to do some good thing and somebody is coming and objecting it. That means it's a reverse action. It is not happening in the way it is supposed to happen. Even then, devotees will not get disturbed. No act of God should be disturbed, even if it appears to be reverse. Right? Prabhupada quotes examples of Prahlad Maharaj, Haridas Thakura, and Pandavas. Right? Haridas Thakura was beaten in 23 markets by Kazi. But he never felt anything. He said, okay, this is will of the God. Something is happening. There's some greater plan. Prahlad Maharaj also, he was tried to kill by his own father several times. He never blamed God. Why is this? Why is this happening to me? Right? Pandavas, they lost everything. They lost their entire kingdom. They were living in forest for 13 years, in exile for 1 year. And their wife is insulted in front of everybody, tried to disrobe. They never blamed God. They know that there is some plan. So even if it is a reverse effect, devotees will not get disturbed. They know that this is for a greater plan, and Krishna has some better plan, so he is planning for it. Right? So that's what this purport means. So finally, takeaways. We have a couple of takeaways from this session. Number one, committing offense at the feet of Lord is a great mistake, which we already learned. We cannot. So we will have to, either you be a sincere devotee or you be completely outside. Don't be in between. You can't cheat Krishna. Krishna knows everything. Right? Vaishnava shouldn't be evaluated in terms of their appearance. Never. We don't know what they are going through, what their conditions and what their situations are. Anxiousness of Lord for his devotees. We see how Lord reciprocates. He is directly pleasing and he is asking for forgiveness. Lord Vishnu himself is asking forgiveness to sages. Please forgive them. Let them come back. He is so anxious towards his devotees. Lord is a savior of Brahmanas and cows. We have learned this. How to treat a Brahmana, very important. Brahmana or a Vaishnava, does not matter. Right? Never reciprocate in the same way, even if there is any grievance. Please them, smile at them, make them understand. Devotees are never disturbed even by reverses. Last shloka we have discussed. Always stay stable, whatever it happens. Right? God is there. He's taking care of something. There is some greater plan, which we can't understand. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Thank you, Prabhujis and Matajis. I'm sorry, we went really overboard. There is a little longer chapter, so 37 shlokas. So I was told to finish this today, so we had to go a little overboard. Very sorry for this. So now we are open to questions. In case you have anything, we can discuss.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Dandavat Pranam Prabhuji, thank you for your nice class.
Hare Krishna.
Especially like the presentation that you prepared. It's very nice way of putting the slokas and important points.
Hare
Thank you.
Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji. All with your guidance, Prabhuji. We just copy you. There is nothing creative we are doing.
Wonderful class, Prabhuji. We can see your effort for Krishna.
Haribol. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Very nice, Prabhuji. The class is very interesting. Very nice, really.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Prasad Prabhu, Dandavat.
Yeah, wonderful session, Prabhu. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Dandavat Pranam, Prabhuji, so nice. And I think you study the Bhagavad Gita in very, very detail. That really comes out, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for the class.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Dasraj Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Class
Hare
is
Krishna.
amazing, Prabhuji, and wonderful, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Dasraj Prabhu, Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Like taking two or three shlokas and then explaining the main points. Yeah, it was really nice, Prabhu. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Dandavat Pranam. Thank you for
Hare
a very
Krishna,
good.
Anandram Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhu. Very excellent class, Prabhu. Prabhu, I have one question.
Yes, Prabhu.
So our actions start with the desire first, Prabhu. So whatever actions we commit, it starts with that desire, and then that desire eventually turns into anger or whatever, and then some action happens. So here Jaya and Vijaya, their intent was good, but that's why it's an accident.
Yes.
But even for an accident, Prabhu, and where the intent was not wrong, they had to face the consequences, which was quite severe, Prabhu. So in our daily lives also, Prabhu, sometimes we end up making accidents. So for these accidents also, the consequences would be there, Prabhu.
Yes.
Right, Prabhu? Even though our intent is good, we might make some accidents, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu. So, Prabhuji, I think there are a couple of things which we will have to notice here. Number one, in case of Jaya and Vijaya, though they have committed an offense, right? Lord Vishnu himself said that it is based on his plan. Right? He himself declared that this is based off my plan. You don't worry. This is a temporary arrangement. You go and you come back. Because as Prabhupada explains in one of the purpose, it is basically his intention to fight. Right? So it is Lord Vishnu's intention to fight that he created this entire setup. Right? Therefore, it is just an accident and also a plan of Lord Vishnu. Because it is a plan of Lord Vishnu, it is an accident. That is where he came all the way. Right? And coming to your second part of the question, Prabhu, we also commit mistakes on a day-to-day life, right? And we will have to face the consequences. There is no doubt, Prabhu. But again, there is a different understanding on this, Prabhuji. As I understand, Prabhuji, Lilananda Prabhuji is on the call. He can correct if I am wrong, right? That is based on what kind of consciousness and what kind of mistake one is committing, Prabhuji, right? As I've just explained in our previous shlokas, in 9th chapter, 30th shloka of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains, even if a devotee commits a greater offense, accidentally also, he should not be considered, that should not be considered very seriously, right? If he is taking up Krishna consciousness sincerely, right? If we are not doing that, we are just trying to act like a devotees just to showcase, but we are committing the offenses in the name of Lord, then definitely there are consequences that we need to face. But when there are someone who's very, very sincere in the spiritual journey or Krishna consciousness, and we commit a mistake accidentally, that should not be taken seriously, is what Krishna is explaining in Bhagavad Gita, Prabhuji, and that's what my understanding also. Lilananda Prabhu, if I am wrong, you can correct me, Prabhu. You can explain. Prabhuji, you are on mute.
Oh, Hare Krishna, Dandavat Prabhu. So there's nothing like wrong. I would not say you told anything wrong. What you told is right. But if you permit, I can add a couple of points.
Sure, Prabhuji, sure.
So actually, in spiritual life, it's like a two-edged sword. If you don't handle it properly, you'll cut yourself. If you, while you're handling it, if you're a little ignorant, you'll cut yourself. And the closer you go to Lord, the mercy is also increases and the punishment also increases. So become more responsible when you get into spiritual life. We don't tell that to newcomers. It's Srimad Bhagavatam class, so we can maybe discuss a little about that. Is that when you take up a spiritual position, especially a position of a preacher or a devotee who is serving a guru, or you're very close to dealing with many great sannyasis, even in our movement, you have to be very careful because Krishna is watching you very closely. And more importantly, devotee's life is taken over by Krishna. So whatever good or bad that we are seeing, you call it punishment or correction, that is planned by Krishna only. There is no doubt about it. It is not happening without Krishna's knowledge or Krishna's sanction. But at the same time, somebody like Jay and Vijay, it was not even an offense. They were doing their duty. They were, they were supposed to do that. That's why they're gatekeepers. Gatekeeper matlab kya? Jo rokta hai na? I mean, he has to stop and ask, what do you want? That's what they did. And for that, they get such a big punishment that, so many lives, they have to come on the earth planet. But anyway, they didn't look at it as punishment. The other side of the rasa is they enjoyed the whole thing, the Supreme Lord's plan. But one other lesson also is how careful we should be standing as gatekeepers for the spiritual knowledge, right? All of us, in fact, for that matter, I become very fearful when I'm dealing with devotees. See, there can be differences between devotees also. I can tell you, as many devotees who like me, there are more devotees who don't want to see my face also, and that's okay. I have to accept that's how it's going to be. And maybe I also admit that I also may not like a devotee in ISKCON. Some differences. The way he works or the way he talks or his interpretation, his acceptance, whatever reason it might be. But how careful we should be in our dealings, how careful we should, because Krishna is closely watching us and we are all in this moment. This moment is the best moment on the whole planet because we are working for Krishna and Krishna is depending on us. One senior devotee told, Krishna is depending on ISKCON to spread Bhagavad Gita. So you can imagine how much we are in that focus, and we have to be very, very careful. Yes, it is punishment. Yes, it can be Krishna's sanction, but we should be careful. Just a thought that came to my mind when I hear this. It's not an answer for any question. I'm just sharing. It's a reflection.
Prabhuji, also, if I may add a couple of points.
Yes, Deepa.
If we see this whole episode, actually, what we have learned all the time is that one who's going to the spiritual, especially the Vaikuntha and the Goloka, they can never fall down. That is the lesson we learn. But here, it's not a fall down, actually. Like Dasraj Prabhu always confirmed it multiple times during the session that it is a plan of God. But what is the plan of God? If we take a bird's eye view, we'll know that what is Lord trying to communicate is that do not do not disrespect Brahmanas, whatever be the situation. That you have to take care of Brahmanas and you have to respect them. So he is trying to communicate that lesson to all of us through this episode. And what he's also doing is that in that case, as a plan, he's sending them only for 3 birds. But those 3 birds are so bhayankar that actually they are like hating the Lord, and they are like, and he gives a choice also that what was the choice, Prabhuji? Like 7 birds with
7 birds as a friend, 3 birds
friend,
as an enemy.
3 birds as an enemy. Which one? So they are like so eager to come back, so they chose the 3 birds. So it's all a plan and decided by both the parties that okay, this is what we will do. In the same way, even if acharyas are coming, we should not think them that okay, they are taking a material birth. They are also a part of the plan. They are spiritual beings who are coming here as part of a plan of the Lord. So always we should look at that aspect, that it's not because somebody is committing a sin always, especially these spiritual beings. It is basically a part of the plan, and that is why they are coming. And when they come, they are like coming with a message, and that messaging is probably what we need to look at. That's my understanding of the episode.
Thank you,
Hare
Matthew. Thank you, Matthew, for putting it. And just while you are saying one other thing about fall down, right? I mean, actually, fall down means when you don't have Krishna involved in that activity, then it's a fall down, right? For my sense gratification, if I do something, that's a fall down. But here, it's not a fall down. You know, they were doing it for Lord Narayan. They did not want Lord Narayan to be disturbed, right? It was not for their sense gratification. They stopped the Kumaras. They stopped because, you know, they felt, oh, who is coming? You know, this is not the right time. Or let me go and check before you get in. So it was not about their sense gratification. Devotees never do anything for their sense gratification. Even though it looks like harsh, even though they try to put the rules, even though they ask, you know, what is it, you know, what one should do. But all that is only for what? Only for satisfying the Supreme Lord and senior devotees. The etiquettes that we follow, sometimes we tell in the satsang, Prabhu, before eating, please make it a point that you chant Mahaprasadi Govinde. Prabhu, we should pay obeisances. You know, like when you see a devotee, Vancha Kalpatarubhyasya, some people might think, hey, what is this? You know, do you think I don't have devotion? Why do I have to be told like that? But that's all because it pleases the Supreme Lord. It's not for any sense gratification. You know, for example, there is one Prabhuji, he practically stopped in between the lecture and he told, where is my garland? He asked, said, where is my garland? And people are, what's going on? A materialistic person sitting there might think that he's asking for garland. No, he's not asking for garland. He's teaching that the prasad of garland should be given for a speaker to speak. Right? So it might look like a, you know, an instruction which might be for somebody's, you know, happiness, but it's not like that. It is more for teaching others that this is how we should conduct ourselves as Vaishnavas, right? So Jai Vijay was just doing the Vaishnava etiquette, doing their job. It cannot be a fault down because it's purely centric around Narayan. But Narayan also reciprocated, as Dasraj Prabhu read from the purport of Srila Prabhupada, that it's about Virya Rasa, chivalry, you know, activity Supreme Lord wanted to do. And who is a better one to then do it with the devotees? So there's so many lessons as we dwell into any pastime of Srimad Bhagavatam, especially with the commentary of Srila Prabhupada. You know, somebody was saying, I'll read Potana Bhagavatam, I'll read some other Bhagavatam. I said, yes, you can read those Bhagavatams. But after you read those Bhagavatams, are you matured enough to assimilate the lessons from that Bhagavatam? Right? I'm not saying they're not great Bhagavatam. They are great Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam is always great. But are you intelligent enough to assimilate the lessons out of it? What we are fortunate as ISKCON movement is, Srila Prabhupada has literally like spoon feeding, like spoon feeding of instructions after every verse, saying that, okay, this is how you are supposed to understand it, and this is the, you know, conclusion. So reading Bhagavatam with Prabhupada's purports completes our study, not just a reading. Reading any book of Prabhupada, any purport of Prabhupada, even the Jai Vijay. How many people in India know about Jai Vijay pastime? Almost everybody, every Hindu knows. Every Hindu knows at least that, you know, there is Jai Vijay, and they came back as Ravan, Dantavakra, and Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakashipu, Hiranyaksha, and like, you know, those brothers, they came back. But how many people know these Vaishnava dealings and this mellows between Vaishnavas and the Supreme Lord, and the punishment, the whole reciprocation, and the Kumara speaking back to Supreme Lord, praising him, and Supreme Lord telling us that pacifying Brahmanas is very important. It's beautiful. I really felt it's beautiful. We are very fortunate, actually.
Just want to add on one point, Prabhuji. In fact, you know, the kind of commentaries Prabhupada has given to this chapter and the purports, if we have to start discussing that, it will be endless. So, I had to struggle a lot to, summarize all these things and put in fact, if I have to tell you very honestly, I would have actually missed a lot of important points because we have limitation of time. So that's a beautiful explanation of Prabhupada. We might have to discuss these pastimes days together.
Yeah. Well, this series of Bhagavatam that we are doing as one group, with dual purpose. One is within 1.5 years, we'll finish the entire Bhagavatam. Okay. And 1.5 year to 2 years. And we'll get a glimpse of what is there. Glimpse. Which canto has what chapters, what is discussed. That much we'll get it. And but this is not the completion of Bhagavatam. There has to be a self-study of Bhagavatam, where each one of us is reading Bhagavatam chapter by chapter, purport by purport, for our own self-study and making notes out of it. So Bhagavatam, like in Chowpatty, ISKCON Chowpatty temple, I think one reading of Bhagavatam went on for 10 years. I think after 10 or 11 years.
26 years.
26 years.
Yeah, one shloka per day. It took 26 years for them to complete the Bhagavatam.
My God, I thought it was 10, but 26 is amazing. And then they started again.
Yeah.
And then they started again. Recently it happened, they started again.
Yeah. Ante Valu, they are doing one shloka per day.
Yeah.
That is the reason why it took that many years.
Actually, it is, they read in a format, for that matter, not only Chowpatty, all ISKCON, they read in a format that until a purport comes, they keep reading the shlokas. They have to get a purport, a shloka with a sizable purport. Then the speaker speaks the class. Right? For example, there are some verses for which Prabhupada hasn't given a purport. That shloka is not one shloka per day. Then they actually read through those, and then they read verse where there is a purport. There they stop, and then they give the class. Like that it is.
But in Bhagavatam, you'll see most of them have purport, but in Chaitanya Charitamrita, you don't have much.
Even in Bhagavatam, many shlokas, you don't have purport.
Yeah.
Some chapters have.
Even this chapter does not have purports for at least 6-7 shlokas.
Yeah. Anyway, it's amazing. I'm very happy that all of us are joining. I request everyone who is not able to join regularly to please be regular. And all of us should actually prepare and give classes. I was going to ask Praveen Prabhu that even Mataji should give classes in this forum, in the morning Bhagavatam, to start including Matajis who are chanting 16 rounds and, following the principles for a good amount of time. This is a forum where we can nicely prepare and have, Saturday, Sunday, and Ekadashi is what we are doing. But maybe a day will come, when we do it all 7 days a week, right? Just start your day with a Bhagavatam. If it's not a 2-hour Bhagavatam like Saturday and Sunday, it can be a 1-hour Bhagavatam, right? Where we stick to that schedule of 1 hour and read one chapter and then go to our offices and our work. It can be every day from 7 to 8. It's doable. Actually, His Grace Balgovind Prabhu is already doing it. He's already, what do you call that? Taking like a 2-hour class every morning in Telugu, right? Which is a very nice thing that sets the consciousness for the whole day. But at the same time, because we are doing chapter after chapter, maybe it's a little difficult to plan 7 days a week. But we will discuss about it, and I humbly request all Matajis also to show the enthusiasm to come and give a class. And it's our closed group, our family, and everybody will benefit. Thank you. Sorry, it's already 9:41.
Bhagavata Adhyayanam, Prabhu. Group name is Bhagavata Adhyayanam, which Balgovind Prabhu runs.
Yes, Bhagavata Adhyayanam. Now, as we speak, also is giving a class, I think. Yes. I don't know if on Saturdays he gives. Yeah. Thank you, Prabhuji, for wonderfully preparing. We are all creating spiritual assets in form of these presentations. Please save them.